Welcome back to Timeless Conversations. If you're new here, you're very welcome. Please click the subscribe button so that you're part of a community that you're building here. So Aisha, how was your experience in the job hunt?
Well, my experience was, I would say, balanced. It was not so pretty, but not as hard as how others find. I remember when I was hunting for a job, I met an old friend and he told me, there's this organization, I don't think it is serious, but you could, because I've not had it anywhere, but you could just apply. That job would take you 1 or 2 months as we look around. So when I was signing that contract, I thought I was very unserious, because when you're growing up, you know that someone at least should take up a contract of at least 1 year, like if the worst came to the worst. And here I was signing for a 2 months contract. And I was thinking, so
What next?
What next after 2 months? Like, is that how things are supposed to be? But the good thing with those 2 months is that I got to showcase what I'm able to do. Like, you put in your all, so it's actually very easy for someone to say, let's renew this person's contract. So when I got into my workspace and those 2 months elapsed, it was more of a snap. As much as I thought that it was going to be a hard thing, it was easy. So the contract renewal came in, and it was a lengthy one. Yeah, so I think it should not limit you to say, oh, I cannot apply for jobs that are for 2 months.
That's true.
Or 3. Just go. If the grace of God is with you, maybe that is where you land your role that is 2, 3 as desired.
Yeah, so for me, while I was doing the sales and marketing job, I was looking as well. But man, it was such a hassle to finally land the job that that is in the career path that I wanted to follow. So I used to apply, because I joined very many platforms of job, like where they share job opportunities. I subscribe to email alerts, newsletters of job boards that share job opportunities on a daily, so that I'd be able to, find them, but also to apply. And I did a few interviews, and one particular one was very interesting. It started off with an aptitude test, and we did it at a primary school, but there were very many people. And remember me, I was already up country, so I had to travel to Kampala to be able to do the interview. But we were so many, and I think we were from all over the country. And first of all, that is something to discourage you already. That how do you expect to be picked among this so many sample space, But I did the interview anyway, and one particular thing that I remember was that we sat in a class full of so many people, and the logic questions were very tricky, and I saw people fidgeting. Personally, I also fidgeted. But turns out that I was successful. I actually passed the aptitude test. And so we went on to do the oral interviews, and were interviewed from, it was a banking role, very generic. They said banking officer. And so you don't know which department in the bank you'll be placed in. But I did my best and left, and turns out I didn't get the job. So I think that when you're preparing for a job, especially a generic role that stretches to probably very many departments, you need to prepare holistically. That was my take home from that job interview.
Before I got my first interview, I remember that I applied severally. And some of these companies would get back to me with regret letters, but others just went mute. And I kept on wondering, is this a culture that should be accepted? How many interviews did you have before you went? I
did several, first of all, applications. I did like 15, a span of like 6 months. I did so many applications, but also I did several interviews, like about 10, But the hassle was the interviews are all like different, but also you go with an open mind to be able to learn to be able to learn something from that interview.
These regret letters that we normally get after applying for jobs normally leave us feeling a certain type of way. How was that for you?
For me, it was a stepping stone, I could say, but also it gave me closure. At least they got back to me. There are others who never got back to you at all, like as though you didn't even send an application. So for me, it would give me closure, but it also would be a stepping stone because I've gone through a whole process of interview and I've learned something along the way. And I've picked something from the experience that I went through, you know. And so I would carry that to the next interview that would be able to help me to get better at doing this interview thing, yeah.
Yeah, you know, I ask because right now, it's only now that I appreciate that each interview comes with lessons and you learn all these things that you would never have learned if you had not gone for that interview.
Yeah.
But back then, it was more of they don't appreciate that you actually had an interest in this job because you go to an interview, you spend the whole day there in this scorching sun of Kampala, you're hungry, there are so many people. Meanwhile, there are so many jobs that I applied to and you find like thousands of people.
Yeah, especially the government ones.
Government jobs. I remember this government job that I applied to somewhere in the middle of Kampala. The queues were too long. We crossed the road. In fact, even the interviewing space was not enough. We filled all the rooms around and some of us had to sit under mango trees.
Wow.
Yes.
That's the hassle.
The hassle of looking for jobs in Kampala,
Yeah.
especially if you don't have someone who knows you.
Yeah.
Your gaba no go.
I've had several stories of people having difficulty in job interviews where in the interview process where they're asked probably to bribe or for sexual favors. Do you have any experience around that?
I actually don't, but I know so many young women in Kampala that have fallen prey to male interviewers because you want to dress in a manner that portrays your professionalism,
Absolutely.
right? But not so many young ladies understand that a certain dress code invites certain expressions, you know? So I later learned that even what you would seem like an innocent dress code, you know, you wearing a nice dress, someone will look at your cleavage instead of hearing what you have to offer.
That's true, unfortunately.
And too bad this goes for women. Men do not go through this.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, now for the men, they get to pay the bribes. You know?
And sadly, this is something that happens all
So
the
often.
time. Yeah.
And it goes unnoticed because where are you going to report? First of all, you're vulnerable.
And you're a job applicant. It's not like you're protected by the company's policy.
Exactly.
At that point.
So the sexual harassment actually happens a lot to young women, unlike the men. Now the men get asked for bribes because they have nothing else to offer.
Yeah, unfortunately.
You know, it is such a vulnerable space. But I think to help young people out there, because we cannot do much about how the other person is going to perceive, just make sure that you decently dress for these interviews. If you can, I'm not saying that long stuff are what is recommended, but try as much as possible to cover up and professionally put yourself out there so that someone does not get wild ideas.
That's
Before
true.
they look at what you're able to offer brain-wise and what, they will be looking at your cleavage, your nice, beautiful legs. Have you been asked for a bribe before, or has someone sexually harassed you?
For me, what I usually do, I dress decently, and I dress usually for interviews in colors that are calm and not so much attention-seeking. If possible, I would always do black dresses or like dull colored dresses or something calm that won't be able to attract a lot of attention, so that the focus is on the interview rather than on me. Yeah.
But also on the backside, I actually remember there are a critical mass of young women out there who think that if they dress a certain way, they will be looked at with mercy.
I think that's painting a very bad picture of yourself to the panel.
Yes, but people want to take advantage of how endowed they are.
Yes, but how will you I feel like you compromise on how you will work because people will look at you that way. That's the impression you've created in their eyes.
I've heard that for certain jobs, you have to be striking beauty for them to hire you.
But what's the standard of beauty here?
Well, beauty lies in the hands of the beholder. So whatever his threshold for beauty is, that's it.
So my advice to people out there is, please prepare adequately. First of all, starting from your CV, your cover letter, make sure you tailor it to each individual application that you're going to send out. But also prepare adequately for interviews. Do research about the organization that is hiring. Make sure you know about them, know what they do. Make sure that you know the possible questions that are going to be asked on the interview. But also research into detail the job description that has been put out in the advert. Make sure that you can do each one of them, or they usually say any other duties. Make sure you know that any other duties that could be within that scope. But also prepare for interviews. Do dry runs, stand in the mirror and talk to yourself as though you're answering the questions, to give you a bit of confidence as you're going for these interviews. Those are some of the tips I wanted to share. What tips do you give for people who are in the job hunt?
I have made myself aware that not your CV or your cover letter is sufficient. Sometimes you have to go an extra mile to put yourself out there so that people in your professional circle know you and can attest to how best and you work and can easily recommend you. I know that in some spaces, especially consultancies, someone will get a job and because they are so good, they will turn down the offers. So let yourself be the one that they look out for. And if they are recommending, they say, oh, I cannot take on this offer, but someone else that I know can do this. So you put yourself out there. And if you have any professional circles, attend those conferences, be known to these people, and if possible, please enroll, be in the pursuit of knowledge at all times. Enroll for further studies. As you're looking for these opportunities, at least seek knowledge. Absolutely. And I think all should be well, but also give yourself grace. Not everybody goes through this phase in a very short period of time. So if you can be graceful about it and accept that it could be longer for you while someone else's journey was shorter, take it in good faith and all will be well. Just trust that it might be hard now, but it will be easier later.
Thank you so much for watching this episode of Timeless Conversations. And if you've not yet subscribed, please click the subscribe button to be able to be a part of a family that we are creating here. Like, share, subscribe, but also comment down below your experiences of how the job hunt was for you. See you next Friday. Bye.